Since beginning to study the truth claims of everything to do with Mormonism, one concern I often hear expressed is about the golden plates, that they couldn't possibly have existed because they would have been too large and too heavy for one person to carry. The idea is that the golden plates would have had to have been enormous, large enough to contain the lost 116 pages of the Book of Lehi, the entire 588 pages of the 1830 Book of Mormon, and the sealed plates of the vision of the brother of Jared. Conceivably, the entire translated book could be somewhere around 1,000 pages in length. How big of a bundle of plates would have been needed to contain all of that writing? 500 metal plates? 1,000? And what would all of that gold have weighed? Hundreds of pounds? How could Moroni have carried the plates around, possibly for years, before burying them? And how could Joseph, a young 20-year-old kid, have carried them around without help? These are important questions that deserve to be considered. Did the golden plates even exist? If they did, how big were they? And how were they transported around? Is this story believable? The truth is, no one alive right now knows for certain. We don't have the plates, and we don't have any physical evidence to prove anything. We have the testimony of Joseph and the 11 witnesses who claim to have seen the plates, but for many people it's hard to know how trustworthy those witnesses actually were. And so, for anyone who cares about the topic of Mormonism, and especially about the Book of Mormon, we're forced to choose a theory to believe in. In thinking about this for some time, I've come up with what I think are the three most plausible scenarios around the existence, size, and weight of the Book of Mormon. And here they are. Number one, the "it's all a lie" theory. The first scenario is the one believed in by many who have left the LDS Church, or who have never believed in Mormonism at all. And it is that the whole thing was all one big lie from the beginning. The plates never existed, the lost 116 pages are a hoax, and there's no sealed portion that will come back in the future to be translated by a chosen seer. It was all simply an invention cooked up by Joseph Smith. This scenario is definitely plausible. It would answer all of the concerns listed above. The plates would have had to have been too heavy and too large to possibly be real. When considered alongside such easily debunked problems as the supposed translation of the Book of Abraham and the Kinderhook plates, this hoax theory is logical and easy to believe, and I wouldn't blame anyone for believing it. But what if you're someone like me, who has closely read and studied the Book of Mormon, and you realize, like I do, that it is an incredible book, full of richness and complexity, far beyond the abilities of someone like Joseph Smith to have invented? What then? Did the plates actually exist? How could they have been carried around? Well, one possible idea is my second theory, the superhuman strength theory. This second plausible scenario I can envision is that the plates were indeed quite large and heavy, possibly written on about 400 gold pages, each one weighing around 4 ounces, making the book weigh roughly 100 pounds. At that weight, they would have been too heavy for one person to easily carry around with their natural strength. However, just as happened often throughout the Book of Mormon's pages, God could have been able to give people like Moroni and Joseph Smith superhuman strength to carry such a heavy book. Does that sound implausible to the modern ear? Yeah, it does. Would it sound impossible to someone who believes that Jesus walked on water and raised the dead? No. Would it be consistent with the teachings of the Book of Mormon? Yeah. Let's look at some examples. In the first example, God gives strength to Nephi to apprehend Zoram. It says in 1 Nephi 4, "And now I, Nephi, being a man large in stature, and also having received much strength of the Lord, therefore I did seize upon the servant of Laban and held him, that he should not flee." Second example, God gives strength to Alma's people fleeing the King Noah's army. Alma's people departed into the wilderness before the armies of King Noah, and the Lord did strengthen them, that the people of King Noah could not overtake them to destroy them. And the third and perhaps most pertinent example is where the Lord made the burdens of Alma's people lighter. It says, "The voice of the Lord came to them in their affliction, saying, I will also ease the burdens which are put upon your shoulders, that even you cannot feel them upon your backs. Therefore it came to pass that the burdens which were laid upon Alma and his brethren were made light. Yea, the Lord did strengthen them, that they could bear up their burdens with ease." Is it possible that, just like with the Nephites, the Lord could have made the large and heavy golden plates feel light to those he chose to carry them, such as Moroni and Joseph? As someone who believes in God, Yeah, I think so. Naturally, someone who doesn't believe in God would scoff at this idea, and I appreciate that. But I'm not ashamed to believe in God, and so to me, this is a plausible scenario. However, it's not the scenario I personally believe in to be the true one. The one I believe is number 3, the magnifying theory. This third possible theory came to me as I was reading in the Book of Ether. In chapter 3, the Lord is talking to the brother of Jared about the vision he was just about to show him of the beginning and the ending of the world. And then the Lord says to him, "Ye shall write the things of the vision, and shall seal them up, that no one can interpret them. For ye shall write them in a language that cannot be read. And behold, these 2 stones I will give unto thee, and ye shall seal them up also, with the things which ye shall write. For behold, the language which ye shall write I have confounded. Wherefore, I will cause in mine own due time that these stones shall magnify to the eyes of men these things which ye shall write." When I read that last line, a light bulb went off in my head. I could see in my mind's eye that the interpreter stones were used, just as the Lord prophesied, to, quote, "magnify to the eyes of men these things," unquote. I could see the brother of Jared and later Mormon and Moroni using the stones like magnifying glasses, through which they looked as they engraved the plates in minute detail. And then again, as Joseph used them to look through to see the engravings and the interpretation of them. If this theory is true, how large would the plates have to be? Well, I've used man-made microscopes and magnifying glasses before, and I could see things that were infinitesimally small. Could the Lord prepare stones as good as those microscopes made by men? I believe so. With the stone's help, could the writers have written the entire Book of Mormon on only a few plates? I believe so. Consider this. In Mosiah, we first learn of the plates of ether. It says that some explorers who were sent out by King Limhi to the North Country returned and, quote, "they have brought 24 plates, which are filled with engravings, and they are of pure gold," unquote. 24 plates? Those plates had to contain all of the records of the Jaredites, of which the Book of Ether is only a very tiny abridgment, as well as the entire sealed portion of the Book of Mormon, which contains the vision of the brother of Jared, which I was always led to believe contained the bulk of the golden plates. All of that in 24 plates? How is that possible with the large and heavy plates theory? To me, it's not possible. But it would be possible if those plates were, as Limhi said, literally filled with engravings, from top to bottom, made with the help of the magnifying stones given by the Lord to the brother of Jared. Hundreds of years later, as Mormon and Moroni abridged all the records into one book, they also possessed those magnifying stones, and they could have used them to fill their own plates from top to bottom with engravings too small to read with the naked eye, and only possible to read with the help of the stones. In this way, the whole record could plausibly have fit onto 30 to 50 plates. At 4 ounces each, that would make the whole book about 10 pounds, an easy load for a fit person to carry over long distances. This magnifying theory would not only answer the problems I presented at the beginning of the video, but would also be the most consistent with the words of the Book of Mormon itself. It's the one I think is the most believable of all. It's so cool to continually discover these hidden gems in the Book of Mormon. I love how rich it is, how full of mysteries, and also how full of possibilities. Are there plausible and logical reasons to doubt the existence of the golden plates? Yes, I believe so. Are there plausible explanations for the existence of the golden plates? For someone who believes in the power of God? Yes, definitely. In the end, it's up to each of us to choose which scenario to believe. Were the golden plates a hoax invented by Joseph Smith? Or were they real but extremely large and heavy? Or did they exist but on a small number of plates covered with tiny engravings only readable with the aid of the interpretive stones? What do you think? Which scenario do you believe?